Perfect. So let me start with an example, okay, that your TA has solved, a similar example, and that was the last thing that we have done on last week. So this is an example about aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Okay, can you see the screen? Can you see the example here? Yes, no, yes, perfect. Okay, so basically, so this example is about a problem, okay, so where we have individuals, okay, and we just know the individual demands. Okay, so we have here 3 individuals, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, and they have demand for Twix. Okay, and in addition to that, we have 2 suppliers. Okay, the first supplier is the right Twix factory, and the second supplier is the left Twix factory. And the inverse demand functions are given to us. Okay, so this is the inverse demand function for Athos. This is for Porthos. And this is for Aramis. Okay. First of all, okay, so let me mention so what we mean by the. So I will close my video right now and turn the. Okay, so you can still see the screen, right? Yes, perfect. Okay. So what we mean by the inverse demand. So if you remember, so how we define the demand function. The demand function was defined as Q is equal to A minus BT. Okay, so this was the demand function. Okay, so the inverse demand, so basically, so we are writing Q as a function of T. Okay, so this is the quantity demanded. Okay, now I will turn this into the inverse demand function, so which means that I will write price in terms of the quantity. Okay, so I'm taking P on the left hand side, so which becomes dP. Okay, and I am taking Q to the right hand side, so which becomes A minus Q. Okay, I want to leave P alone, so which means that I will divide both sides by P. Okay, so this will be inverse demand function. Good. So let's turn to our question. So we are given 3 different demand functions. Okay, so 3 different inverse demand functions. And we are given 2 different supply functions. Here the supply for the right factory is minus 2 plus P, and supply for the left factory is minus 8 plus 2P. Okay, so the first part of the question is asking you to aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Okay, so what does it mean? So basically, so this is independent from the question here. Okay, suppose that we have 2 different individuals here. Okay, so the first one, the demand function is like this. Okay, so this part is price, this is quantity, this is 10, and this is 10. Okay, so let's say this is Adam. Okay, and let's say that this is the demand function for the second individual. Okay, so this is the demand function for Betty. And so it is again, okay, so let's say that they have the same demand functions. Okay, so which means that the demand curves will be exactly the same. Okay, so which means that when the price is greater than 10, so none of them is demanding anything. Okay, and when the price is 0, they will demand at most 10 units of the good. Okay, so in order to aggregate their demand, okay, so what we are asking is, so if the price was 11, okay, if price is 11, so what will be their aggregate demand? What will be their aggregate demand? It is 0. Okay, so the reason is basically, so when the price is greater than 10, neither Adam nor Betty demands anything. Okay, so which will be their aggregate demand will be 0. So when price is 10, their aggregate demand will be still 0. Okay, so it is the starting point. Okay, so it is the threshold price level that they start demand something. Okay, suppose that, so if you do the math here correctly, okay, if you look at 9, okay, so each of them will demand 1 unit, right? Can everyone see that? Yes, good. So if this is 9, then they will both demand 1. Okay, so which means that when the price is 9, how much they will demand together as an aggregate demand? It will be 2. Okay, so one will come from Adam and the other one will come from Betty. Okay, and suppose that if you go like this, and if you look at the so if you look at the price level for 0, how much they will demand together? 20. Okay, so basically, so what we are doing is we are adding up the demands. Okay, so it's not something so very complicated. Okay, it's not complicated at all. Okay, and if you would like to draw the aggregate demand function, so what we are doing is basically, so we are pushing so for example, so if this is if you would like to do it here, okay, so we are just basically pushing the demand function here. Okay, so their maximum demand will be 20 here, and their demand for when the price is 10 is 0, and it will be something like this. Okay, so this will be the aggregate demand. Okay, and we will do exactly the same thing here. Okay, but to do that, first we need to change this inverse demand functions to the demand functions. Okay, you can still see the question, right? Okay, yes. So basically, then let's say that we are writing the demand function, okay, for Atos. So the inverse demand function is given as P minus Q, thank Q, okay. Now I would like to move Q to the left hand side of the equation, okay, and I would like to move P to the right hand side of the equation, okay. This is the demand function for Atos, okay. Then what is it for? What was the second name? Portos. So the inverse demand function is given as P minus 5Q over 2. Then the demand function for Portos is, so I'm taking the Q term to the left hand side, okay, and I'm taking the P term to the right hand side, okay. So this is simple math. So I will multiply both sides by 2, then it will be Q Portos is equal to 10 minus 2P. Okay. Then finally, we will look at for the Aramis. And the demand function for Aramis is given as P is equal to 5 minus Q. Then Q RMS is 5 minus P. Okay. Is there any question right now? Okay, so everything is clear. I just turn, okay, transform the inverse demand function to the demand function. Now I will try to aggregate them, okay? But now I need to be careful about, okay? So I need to draw their demand curves, okay? So let's try to draw it here, okay, on one single graph, okay? So I will try to use different colors for different individuals, okay? So the red is for Atos, and again, okay, this is price, this is quantity. So I'm drawing the individual demand curves. So Atos demand is 0 when the price is 10, okay? And when the price is 10, Atos would demand 10 units of goods. Okay, so this is the demand for, so this is demand for Atos. So let me use light blue for Portos. Okay, so at what point the demand curve for Portos intersect with the y-axis, the vertical axis? It intersects with 5. Okay, so how do I know it? So at the vertical axis, at the intersection, quantity will be 0, and I am looking for 0 is equal to 10 minus 2p, and here p will be 5. Okay, so it intersects at 5. And what is the intersection point for the on the horizontal axis? It is 10. Okay, so I'm just looking, so the quantity when price is equal to 0, it will be 10. Okay, so these both curves intersect at the same point on the vertical axis, sorry, on the horizontal axis, but for on the vertical axis, okay, they are intersecting at different points. Okay, and I will use green for RMS. Okay, I will do exactly the same thing here. Okay, what is the intersection point? So at what point the demand curve for RMS is intersecting on the vertical axis? It's again 5. Okay, so I'm doing the same math here. 0 is equal to 5 minus p, and p should be 5. And it will intersect at point 5 on the horizontal axis. Okay, so let me stop here. Okay, any question? Sorusu olan var mı burada? Karışık bir şey olan. Anything confusing? No. Okay. So right now we will look at the different price levels. Okay. So right now I will start aggregating the prices. Okay. So this graph will be on our mind. Okay. And I will look at different price levels here. Okay. And the price levels that I am looking is the ones on the vertical axis. Okay, so on the y-axis. So when the price is greater than 10, okay, so I'm looking for the aggregate demand. Okay, what is the aggregate demand when the price is greater than 10? It is 0, right? So nobody is demanding when the price is greater than 10. Okay, then I will look at this interval. Okay, so when the price is between 10 and 5. Okay, so when the price is less than or equal to 10, but it is greater than 5. What is the aggregate demand? Okay, so basically, so you cannot say the exact value, okay, but you can you can say the demand function here. Okay, so it will just come from the atos. Okay, so it is q atos, so which is in fact 10 minus p. Okay, because in this region only atos demands. Excellent. Okay, then I will check the region for when the price is less than 5 and greater or equal to 0. What will be the aggregate demand here? All. Okay, yes, it's atos, partos, and arms. Okay, so basically, so I need to add up those demands. Okay, it is q partos, q and q arms. Okay, and do I know how to add up those demands? Okay, in fact, I will just sum the right hand side of the equations. Okay, so this will be equal to, okay, what is the demand for atos? It is 10 minus p. Okay, this is the first term. Then 5 minus p, this is the second term. Okay, so sorry. 10 minus 2p and 5 minus p. Okay, then I sum them up. Okay, so the constant term is 25 minus 4p. Okay, so the q aggregate, okay, when price is between 5 and 0, it is 25 minus 4p. When the price is between 10 and 5, it is 10 minus p, and when the price is greater than 10, it is 0. Okay, so if I want to draw that aggregate demand here on the graph, okay, so let me use a different color here. So let me use purple. Okay, so here when the price is greater than 10, okay, the demand is 0. Okay, so when the price is between 5 and 10, the aggregate demand will be equal to the demand of the atos. Okay, and when the price is less than 5, okay, I need to add up all of them. Okay, and how do I add up all of them? Okay, basically I find the total maximum demand here. Okay, 10 is coming from 2 agents and 5 is coming from 1 agent, so it will add up to 25. Okay, and this aggregate demand, okay, starting from price 5, so it will have a flatter part, okay, and it will intersect here. Okay, so this is the graph for aggregate demand. Is this clear? Okay. Burada bir sorunuz varsa sorun arkadaşlar. Hani çünkü burası çok karışık değil. Hani anlayınca tekrarlayabilirim ama yoksa devam edeceğim. Bir sorunuz yok. Süper. Şimdi, so we have finished the aggregate demand. Okay, so we will do exactly the same thing for the aggregate supply. Okay, So let me work on here for the aggregate supply. Okay, different from the demand. Okay, so our supply functions are given here. I don't need to change them to the aggregate demand. And this is minus 8 plus 2p. Okay, but I need to draw the graph here, okay, to see so at which points those graphs are intersecting with the vertical axis and the so if they intersect with the horizontal axis, they will not intersect with the horizontal axis, but I would like to see at which points they are intersecting with the vertical axis. Okay, so those will be our threshold prices. Okay, for the right one, okay, so let me use this purple color. Okay, so at what point so again, this is price, this is quantity. What is the intersection point with the vertical axis? It is 2. Okay, so basically, so what I'm asking here is, so at what level of the price the quantity will be 0? It will be 2. It is something like this. Okay, so this is price 2, so this is QR. Okay, what about for the supply for the left firm? It will be 4. So let me use green for that. Okay, so the slopes of those graphs might be misleading. Okay, so we don't care about it right now. Okay, so what we are focusing on is these intersection points. Okay, okay, so given those aggregate supply and demand, so I will do exactly the same thing here. Okay, so if those will be our the price level that I will be interested in, and I'm first asking to the following question. Okay, so when the price is less than 2, okay, so will any of those firm would like, so will any of those firm supply to the market? Is there a supply when the price is less than 2? No. So none of them would like to supply when the price is less than 2. So what about the price is greater than 2 but less than 4? Which one will supply? Only the right firm will supply. So the aggregate supply will be QR. And when the price is greater than 4, so when the price is greater or equal to 4, then the aggregate supply will be QR plus QL. Okay, so mathematically it is minus 2 plus P, and this will be minus 10 plus 3P. Okay, and if I would like to draw the graph, okay, so here until, so between the price less than 0, okay, so there will be no supply. So for the price level between 2 and 4, only the right firm will supply. Okay, and when the price is greater than 4, okay, so I will adopt the right the left firm also. Okay, so the curve will become flatter. Okay, this is aggregate supply. Okay, So we have finished it. We have finished the first part of the question. Any questions so far? No. Good. Then I will continue with the second part of the question. Okay, so in the second part, it said that find the market equilibrium price and quantity when only right TVX factory can sell TVX in the market. Okay, so which means that for part B, okay, right firm supplies and we are looking for aggregate demand. Okay, so suppose that I'm just looking for the very basic case. Okay, so I'm just looking for the case where we have right firm and only RMS is in the market. Okay, so this is the very basic case. Okay, then how do I find the market equilibrium price? So when we have just one firm and one individual in the market, how do I find the market equilibrium? Any answer? Okay, so let's forget the question. Okay, let's forget the question. So let me tell it in Turkish first. Okay, then I will repeat myself so in English. Okay. Soruyu unutalım. Burada sadece right firm ve Aramis var diyelim markette. Ve bize market equilibrium'u soruyorlar. Tamam mı? Burada right firm'in supply fonksiyonu QR is equal to minus 2 plus P. Aramis'in demand fonksiyonu ise P Aramis is equal to 5 minus P. Bu durumda, Q RMS is equal to 5 minus P. Okay, so under this condition, okay, so we are just given one firm and one individual in the market, and we are asked for the market equilibrium, price, and quantity. How do we answer this question? How do we find the market equilibrium, price, and quantity? So you don't need to write on the chat, okay? So you can just unmute yourself and answer it. Okay, this is a very basic question. Not exactly right.
By equating these two equations?
Yes, exactly. So we will be basically, we will equate the quantity demanded and quantity supply. Okay, so which is also to say that we would like to find the intersection of those two equations. Okay, so I will check the exact numbers. Okay, so here QR will be equal to quantity RMS. Okay, it will be 2 minus 2 plus P is equal to 5 minus P. Then I will do the math here. So it will be 2P is equal to 7 and P is equal to 3.5. Okay, and quantity will be equal to 1.5. Is that clear? Okay, so nothing fancy, okay, nothing complicated, okay? So you are giving me one, so basically this is the story. Okay, so you are giving me one downward sloping demand curve, okay, and you are giving me one upward sloping supply curve, and this will be the equilibrium. Okay, I'm just looking for the intersection. Now let's turn back to our question. Okay, so we are given the aggregate demand. Okay, so what was the aggregate demand curve? Okay, so basically, so that it is starting from 10 to 5. Okay, there is a king, and it is becoming flatter. Okay, so let me try to draw it. So this is from 10 to 5, something like this, and then it becomes flatter. Okay, and it is intersecting at 25. Okay, this is the king point. And the supply. Okay, so what do I know about the supply is basically supply is starting from 2. Okay, but can I be sure that, okay, the supply goes like this, or it goes like this? Can I be sure at this point? Okay, so if I draw it to the scale, okay, I can be sure. Okay, but my drawing is not that good. Okay, so I don't know whether this is the supply curve or this is the supply curve. Okay, so what I know is it is starting from 2 and it is upward sloping. Okay, so which means that supply can intersect with the aggregate demand curve at this portion or this portion. Okay, I need to check both possibilities here. Okay, so demand, aggregate demand, and supply can intersect at 2 points. Okay, and the reason is basically, so there is a kink here. Okay, so the slope of the demand curve changes at this point. Okay, but for the individual one, so there is no kink. Okay, so the demand curve is downward sloping. Okay, that is basically the only tricky point of this question. Okay, I need to find this point and I need to find this point. Okay, then I will check so whether they make sense. Okay, so what I mean by making sense, so it will become clear. Okay, so what is the demand function for this first part of the aggregate demand? What is the demand function for that? It is Q is equal to 10 minus P. Okay, so what is the demand function for this part? It is Q is equal to 25 minus 4P. Okay, and I will consider both possibilities. Okay, I will say that, okay, first I assume that supply and demand intersects at the upper portion of demand. Okay, so by upper portion, so I mean this part. Okay, this is the upper portion, this is the lower portion. Okay, that is my assumption. Okay, so once I find the intersection point, I will try to verify it. Okay, so let's see what will be the intersection point. So if they intersect at the upper portion. Okay, this is Q demand is equal to 10 minus P. Q supply is always the same. It is minus 2 plus P. Then I'm just looking for the intersection. It is 10 minus P is equal to minus 2 plus P. It will be 12 is equal to 2P. Okay, so which gives us P is equal to 6 and quantity demanded is equal to, what's quantity demanded? It is 4. Perfect. So basically, so if my assumption is correct, okay, this is 6 and this is 4. Okay, without checking to the second case. Okay, do you see any problem here? Okay, so what I have done is basically I assume that, okay, so the supply is intersecting to the demand on the upper portion of the demand curve. Okay, and the upper portion of the demand curve is valid when the price is greater than 5 and less than 10. Okay, and the intersection point that I have found is giving me the price of 6. Okay, so everything is confirming itself. Okay, so there is no problem with it. Okay, so this is the first candidate for the equilibrium. Okay, let's do the second part. Okay, and we will see that the second part is not holding. Okay, so which means that this will be the only equilibrium here. Okay, for the lower portion, then the demand is 25 minus 4P and supply is the same thing. Okay, 2P plus P. Okay, so this is supply, this is demand. Then if I do the math here, it is 27 is equal to 5P. Okay, and P is equal to 27 over 5, so which will be 5.4. Okay, now what I am claiming is, okay, so if this is the intersection point, okay, then the corresponding price is 5.4. Now let's think about whether there is a problem or not here. That's the, okay, there's a problem, right? Okay, so what I did is basically I pointed out, okay, I spotted 5.4 below 5, which is illogical. Okay, so it cannot be correct. Okay, so which means that if those two curves are intersecting, they cannot intersect at a price less than 5. Okay, so that is what I need to verify here. Okay, so which it doesn't hold. Okay, so this is the only equilibrium. Okay, so I will not go over the last part of the question. Okay, but let me wait for a minute, okay, for you to digest this question, okay, and let me know so if you have any question. So let me give you a hint here, okay. So during this class, okay, so if I'm spending more time, okay, on a specific question, on a specific topic or something like that, okay, this is a big hint for you for the midterm. Okay, so it means that, so there is a very high possible probability that you will have a similar question here in the midterm. Okay. And if I were you, I would expect a similar questions on the midterm. Good. If there is no question, okay, then I will continue. Sorunuz var mı arkadaşlar? No. For part C, okay, so the difference will be the following. Okay, so for the aggregate demand, so we have something like this. Okay, so a King function. And for the aggregate supply, we also have the similar thing. Okay, this is just my drawing. Okay, so I will explain it in a second. Okay, so but let me first go over here. Okay, so the supply curve has two parts and the demand curve has two parts. Okay, so let's say this is supply one, this is supply two, this is demand one, and this is demand two. Okay, now I need to check four cases here. Okay, so either demand one and supply one intersects, or demand one and supply two intersects, or supply one and demand two intersects, or the supply two and demand two intersects. Okay, so you need to check four possible cases here. Okay, so let's turn back to our question. Okay, part B here. So why we didn't say that? So the price 5.4 is the equilibrium. Okay, here is the reason. Okay, for the supply curve to intersect with the lower part of the aggregate demand, okay, we are implicitly saying that the price should be less than 5. Okay, for supply to intersect the lower portion of the demand, price should be less than 5. Okay, the reason is basically the lower portion of the demand curve is valid for price less than 5. Okay, so if the price is greater than 5 points, if the price is greater than 5, okay, so my demand is the upper portion of the demand curve. Hani burada Türkçe açıklayacağım şimdi. Burada biz bu lower demand, flat kısmını çizerken demand curve'ün, okay, price'ın 5'ten küçük olduğu zamanlarda çizebiliyoruz. Şimdi ben bunu çözerken bunu düşünmemem lazım ilk başta. Acaba burada nerede intersect eder, intersect etmez onu düşünmeden bu intersection point'ini bulmam gerekiyor. Ben burada işlemi yaptım. Demand supply'e eşitledim. Sonra bir baktım ki price 5.4. Bu neden bir problem çıkartıyor? Çünkü bu demand curve'ün bu alt kısmı sadece price 5'ten küçükken geçerli. 5'ten büyükken benim demand'im zaten bu curve'ün üst kısmı. Hani birbiriyle çakışıyor bunlar. Okay? So since there is a contradiction saying that, okay, so the demand curve is the lower portion when the price is less than 5, but the equilibrium price that I have found is greater than 5, okay? So this creates a contradiction. Is it clear now? Daha açık oldu mu? Tamam. Perfect. So if there is no question, so the part C is, so I want you to work on part C. Okay, so it's not a homework, okay, but I highly suggest you to go over the parts. Okay. So it's all for the market equilibrium. Okay, so I hope so everything is clear. Now we will continue with the rest of the chapter 2. Okay, so I will continue until 7. Okay, so around 7, 6:50 or something like that. Okay, I will continue 20 more minutes. Okay, then I will give a break. Okay, so if you want to eat something, so you can eat, and then we will continue in 15 minutes. But let me continue 20 more minutes. Okay. İyi midir? Herkes yaşıyor mu? Super. Super. So let's continue. So all thing about this chapter is basically, so we are given a demand function and we are given a supply and we are looking for this intersection. Okay. So we are always saying that, okay, so when the market equilibrium is asked for us, okay, when the market equilibrium is asked, we look at the intersection. Okay, but let's think about, there is a government here. Okay, and what do the government usually do? Okay, all around the world. Okay, so they are intervening to the market. Okay, so they are saying that, okay, that there are some rules in the market. Okay, so everything cannot happen in the free market. Okay, so the rules that the government can bring can be price floor and price ceiling. Okay, so what is floor in Turkish? Taban fiyat, zemin. Okay, so it is basically, so this will be the lowest price that you can ask for. Okay, so the price floor is the lowest price in the market that can be implemented. Okay, and the price ceiling is just the opposite. It is the highest price in the market that can be implemented. Okay. So basically, so it is saying that, okay, for example, let's think about this example. Okay, so I have the supply curve and I have the demand curve, and I look at this intersection. Okay, let's say that the intersection price is 5. Okay, that's the intersection point. Okay, suppose that the price floor is 4. Okay, so the government tells you that, okay, so in this market, okay, so whatever market that we are looking for, okay, you can, the minimum price that can happen is 4, which means that, so this is the price floor. Can that policy affect the market? Okay, so let me repeat it again. Okay, without any government intervention, I find the market equilibrium price to be 5. Okay, and the government is telling you the following. Okay, so in this market, I will apply a price floor. Okay, and the price floor is 4. So which means that the market price cannot be 4. So it cannot be less than 4. Can that affect the market equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity? So let's think this again. Okay. So suppose that, okay, so you are the only seller and I am the only buyer. Okay, and we agree on to have the transaction, okay, at price 5. Okay, and the government tells us that, okay, the transaction price cannot be less, so cannot be less than 4. Can that affect our transaction price? Exactly. Okay, since the equilibrium price is already higher than the price floor, okay, it will not affect the transaction price. Okay, but what if the price floor is 6? Okay, can that affect the equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price? The government is telling us that you cannot sell this good less than 6. Okay, and 5 was the equilibrium price. Okay, let's say this point is 10. Okay, the equilibrium. The answer will be yes. Okay, and at that time, okay, so if the seller cannot go beyond 6, okay, 6 will be the equilibrium price. Okay, and for the equilibrium quantity, I will look at this point. Okay, so it will be 8. So let me repeat this in Turkish. Bir markette taban fiyatımız varsa ve bu taban fiyatı equilibrium fiyatından düşük çıktıysa, hani free market equilibrium fiyatından düşük çıktıysa, çıktıysa değil, düşükse, bu bizim marketteki transaction'ımızı etkilemez. Fakat bu taban fiyat equilibrium fiyatından yüksekse, tabii ki hali hazırda bu etkiler. Çünkü ben equilibrium'a gidemiyorum demektir bu. Equilibrium'a gidemiyorsam gidebileceğim en düşük fiyat taban fiyatıdır. Peki quantity'yi bulmak için ne yapacağım o zaman marketteki? Supplier bu kadar satmak istiyor. Demand yapan adam, customer da bu kadar almak istiyor. O zaman ne kadar satılır ürün markette? Customer ne kadar demand ediyorsa. Tamam, hani onu geçmez. So basically, so if the equilibrium price is less than the price floor, okay, so let me write it here. If the equilibrium price is less than price floor, then the market price will be equal to price floor, and market quantity will be equal to the demand at floor price. Okay, that is the floor. Okay, any question? Açık oldu mu burası? Güzel, soru yok. Devam edelim. Now let's think about price ceiling. It will be just the opposite here. Okay, so let's again think about the demand and supply here, supply, so this is demand, so this is the equilibrium price. Okay, so let's say it is 10 and this is 5 and 10. Okay, without any intervention. This is quantity. Okay, and so we are looking for the price floor. Okay, so project the price floor again. So the price floor, sorry, price ceiling. Okay, so the price ceiling is the highest price in the market that can be implemented. Okay, so if the price ceiling is 4, okay, so let me start with the easy case. If the price ceiling is 10, okay, so which is the maximum price that can be charged in the market is 10. So here, this point, okay, since it is greater than the market equilibrium price, okay, this will have no effect on transaction. Okay, but what if the price ceiling is 4? Okay, the government is telling us that, so you cannot sell this good at a price, okay, more than 4. Then what happens here is basically the supplier would like to supply, let's say, 6 units, and the consumers would like to have 12 units, okay, and the price that maximum price that can be charged is 4, okay, so this will affect the transaction, and the transaction will happen at price equal to price floor, so which is 4, and the transaction quantity will be equal to the amount that is supplied at price floor. Okay. So which will be 6. Okay. So we call this difference between the quantity demanded, okay, and the quantity supplied. So this difference is called the excess demand. Okay. And in the case of the price floor, okay, so this difference is called as excess supply. Any question? No question? So let me solve one question here, okay, and I will give a break, okay? I need to change the screens. Can you see the new screen? Okay, perfect, perfect. So basically, so we will look at the question 3. Okay, so before the break. Okay, it will be very easy question. Okay, so here we are given a supply and demand functions. Okay, so the supply is equal to, so we are looking for this question. So let me see whether I can write on this. Okay, so the supply is given as minus 20 plus 10p, and so the demand is given as 400 minus 20p. Okay, so without looking rest of the question, okay, let's try to find the equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price, okay, without the intervention. Okay, so it will be minus 20 plus 10p is equal to 400 minus 20p. Okay, so can you see the writing here? Yazdığımı görebiliyorsunuz değil mi? Perfect. Okay, so then what will be the equilibrium here without the intervention? Okay, it will be 30p is equal to 420. Then p is equal to, what will be p? It is 1, 4, and 0. Okay, of course there is no 0. Thanks. Okay, so price will be 14 and the quantity will be, so if price is 14, the quantity will be 120. X. Okay, now the government sets a maximum price. Okay, so this maximum price will be price ceiling, right? Okay, so the maximum price of the good that can be the maximum price that can be charged is $10. Okay, so which is less than the market equilibrium price. Okay, so if we think about the equilibrium here, so this is 14. Okay, but the maximum price that can be charged is less than that. Okay, so it is 10. Then we are asked for the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. Okay, so here the equilibrium price will be, what will be the market price? It will be 10. So what will be the market quantity, the transaction quantity? Should I look at the intersection with the demand, or should I look at the intersection with the supply? I should look at the intersection with the supply. Okay, so this is the binding part. Okay, so which will be, I will put this 10 to the supply function. Then quantity supplied at 10 is minus 20 plus 10 times 10, so which will be 8. Okay, so this will be transaction. sorry for the writing. Okay, so this is exactly so what we are talking about, the market ceiling. Good. Any question? No. Excellent. So I said that so I will give a break, okay, but so let's try to continue for a few more minutes, okay, so let's try to do one more thing, okay, so we will try to do one more thing here, okay, so let's try to look at the fourth question, okay, so after this question, so I will give a break. Okay, so I will, so let me do something here. Perfect. So let's continue here. So can you see this new screen? So the screen that I was writing before? Okay, perfect. So now we are working on this question 4. Okay. So we are given the supply and demand. Okay. So again, let's forget about the rest of the question and we will try to find the market equilibrium. Okay. So the market equilibrium will be quantity supplied equal to quantity demanded. So which is minus 20 plus 10p is equal to 400 minus 20p. Okay. So this is the market equilibrium that I would like to find. Okay. So this is the supply, this is the demand, and I'm looking for this point. And the price will be 30p. It's exactly the same question. Okay. Minus 420. 420. So the market price that I find is 40 and the quantity that I will find is 120. Okay. So different from the previous one. Okay. Here I am asked to find the market price. Okay. When the government is restrict the number of the goods that can be sold to 100 units. Okay. Şimdi ben burada ne yapacağım o zaman? So this is different from the price floor and price ceiling. Okay. So the government is just telling us that so the maximum price, so the maximum quantity that can be transacted is 100. Okay, so I know that so the new quantity cannot the quantity the market quantity cannot exceed 100. Okay, so this is the point. Okay, so 100 cannot exceed it. Okay. Then what will be the price? price will increase. Okay, so because there is some kind of a limitation in the market, right? So basically, so people are demanding, and so the government said that, okay, so this is the maximum price that you can, so this is the maximum quantity that you can sell. So it is some kind of a stockçuluk in Turkey. Okay, so you are just giving 100 units to the market, so the market price will increase. But to what point? Okay, can I see the exact point that the market price will happen in this graph, on this graph? For example, can this be the market price? No. Okay, so because so it is exactly lower than the equilibrium price. Okay, what can be the market price in this market? It will be this point. Okay, so let's say it is 16 or 15. Okay, so whatever the intersection. Okay, so the point is basically I now have a supply curve. Okay, something like, okay, so up until this point, okay, so where the quantity is restricted, okay, I will have the actual supply curve, but after that I will have a vertical supply curve. Okay, and now I will look at the intersection of this the supply curve that I get, okay, after the intervention, okay, after this restriction, so which is something like, so it is upward sloping, then it becomes vertical, and I will be looking for the intersection with the demand curve. Okay, so demand is not affected here. Okay, then this will be the equilibrium price. Okay, so this will be the equilibrium point. Okay, so it will be giving us the equilibrium price in the market. Okay, how do I find this equilibrium price? So I just plug in to find equilibrium price. Okay, we plug in quantity to the demand function. Okay, so which quantity? This restriction. Okay, so what does it mean? Okay, so I will say that 100 is equal to 400 minus 20p, so which will be 20p is equal to 300. Okay, p is equal to 50. Okay, that will be the market equilibrium price after the intervention. Okay, what is the market quantity? What is the market quantity here? It will be 100. Okay, so which is equal to the restriction. Excellent. Any question? Sorunuz yok değil mi? Bu arada biz bu kaydı record ettik mi? Yes, perfect. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Okay. So there is one question here. Okay. So it asks so that so what if we put the sub 100 to the supply? Okay. So which means that so it will give us a lower price here. Okay. So let's do that. So if we put 100 to the supply, 100 is equal to minus 20 plus 10p, then p will be equal to 12, okay, so which is a lower price, okay, but here there is an over demand in the market, okay, so basically, so we are limiting to the supply, okay, so and the price should be greater than the market equilibrium price without intervention, okay, so this cannot happen, okay. For the homeworks, okay, I will explain it again, okay. Okay, so Tarık asked question 3 again. So what do you mean, Tarık? Okay, so yes, I will repeat it again. Okay, so can we do that so after the break? So let's do that after the break. Okay, so for the homeworks, okay, so I will assign you the homeworks. Okay, I will send you the PDF of the homeworks by email, and I will ask you to upload it to this course. Okay, so I'm sure that so you are used to do that. Okay, and if that does not work, okay, so you can send me a scanned version of your homework. Okay, so you may not have scanner. Okay, you can just take the picture of the homework and you can send it to me by email. Okay, is that good? Perfect. Then so I will stop, okay, for let's say that 15 minutes. Okay, so we will meet around 7:20. Okay, so now I am stopping to share. I am recording it. So let me share my screen. So one of your friends asked me to go over question 3 again. Okay, so let me try to do it again here. So here in this question, so it is giving us a price ceiling, okay, which is the maximum price here that can be charged. Okay, so which is 10, and you can see the screen, right? I just want to make sure. Perfect. Then I will, for this kind of questions, okay, so the first thing I need to do is basically I need to find the market equilibrium price and market equilibrium quantity without intervention, okay? So without any government policy, what will be the market equilibrium price and the market equilibrium quantity? And doing that is very simple. Okay, so I have the demand curve, I have the supply curve, and I will be looking at this intersection. Okay, so how do I do that here? So I equalize supply to the demand. Supply is minus 20 plus 10p is equal to 400 minus 20p. Then I will have 30p is equal to 420 and p is 40. Okay, so this is the price without government intervention. Okay, so there is no price floor, there is no price ceiling. Okay, and the corresponding quantity will be, if I put that quantity to either supply or demand, it will happen to be 120. Okay, so now the government is telling us that the maximum price that can be charged is $10. Okay, so since price ceiling is less than equilibrium price, government policy affects market price and quantity. Okay, so by market price and quantity I mean the transactions. Okay, so since 10 is the maximum price that can be charged here, and the market equilibrium is 14, so this 10 will be binding here. Okay, it will be binding, and the market price will be, since price ceiling is binding. Okay, so the market price will be equal to price ceiling. Okay, which is 10. Burada bu constraint bizi bağlıyor. Hani buradaki binding dediğimiz bizi bağladığından dolayı equilibrium price, market price'ımız 10 olmak zorunda. Okay, since the price ceiling is binding, okay, the actual price that we will see in the market, okay, will be 10. Then what will be the actual quantity that we will observe in the market? It is either the intersection with the demand or the intersection with the supply. Okay, either this one or this one. Okay, so the point here is basically the amount that will be supplied when the price is 10 is, so we can find it very easily, it is 80. Okay, the amount that is demanded when the price is 10 is, we can find that very simply, it is 200. Okay, so there are two candidates here. Okay, suppliers supply 80 units and the consumers demand 200. Okay, what will happen in the market? Okay, will the market quantity 200 or 80? It will be 80, right? Because so it cannot be 200 because we cannot find 200 units of good in the market, because 80 is the maximum amount the supplier would like to supply, so the firms would like to supply. Okay, so the answer will be 80. Okay, and this difference, okay, will be excess demand. Okay, so we have at that price, okay, we have more consumers, okay, in the market, but since the firms would like to supply only 80 units, okay, only just limited number of the consumers will get that good. Okay, and this difference will be the ones who are not getting that good. Okay, that will be the excess demand. Is that clear right now? Perfect. Okay, so this completes chapter 2. Okay, I will post the lecture notes, okay, for chapter 2, okay, to my course, okay, and you can download them there. Okay, so I will post the PDF of the code. Okay, now we will start with chapter 3. Okay, and it is basically the application of the supply and demand model. Okay, so we will be still using the supply and demand model. Okay, but now we will be answering a different question. Okay, so let's think about a simple market. Okay, in a simple market, what we have is we have a demand curve like this, and we have a supply curve like this. Okay, this is supply, this is demand. Okay, so we have the equilibrium quantity here, let's say Q star. We have equilibrium price here, let's say P star. Okay, so let's give some numbers then. Okay, so let's say this is 100, and let's say this is also 100 for simplicity. Okay, so this is the equilibrium, okay, in the market. And we don't have any government, we don't have anything. Okay, so nothing is intervening to the market, and we have this demand, we have this supply, and we have this equilibrium. Okay, now let's think about an alternative demand. Okay, so let's say that this is the demand in Turkey. Okay, now let's think about an alternative demand. Okay, let's say that in Greece. Okay, so we are looking for an alternative demand in Greece. Okay, so the demand in Greece is steeper. Okay, the demand in Greece. Okay, so as you can see that, okay, the supply curve, okay, intersects with the Greece, the demand curve of Greece and the demand curve of Turkey at the same point. Okay, that is our equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Okay, so do we have the same demand in Greece and the same demand in Turkey? Our Turkish demand and the Greek demand are the same? No. Okay, so it's apparent. Okay, so basically, so when you look at the curves, okay, one of them is steeper. Okay, so which one is steeper? This one is steeper. This one is flatter. Okay, so they don't have the same demand. Okay, but for some reason, okay, we have the same equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity, and that can happen here. Right? Okay, so we just look at the intersection, and for some reason, they intersect at the same point. Okay? What if, okay, we have a change in the supply? Okay, so let's say that, so we are looking for this is the market for beef, okay, and the price for cattle increases. Okay, cattle name, what's cattle in Turkish? It's like a call, dana. Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to write it in upper cases. Okay, so but it is dana, or it's something that, so it is input for beef. Okay, so let's just think about it like that. Okay, so in our first class, okay, so what we, or are in second class, okay, when we talk about supply, okay, so we said that, okay, when the price of the input changes, okay, so what happens to the supply? The supply curve, supply'da inputlara bir şok geldiğinde supply curve ne oluyor? If there is a shock for the input, what happens to the supply curve? Dönmediniz herhalde, hala akşam yemeğindesiniz. It will shift. Okay, so we are not sure whether it will shift to the right or it will shift to the left, but it will shift. Okay, how can determine whether it shift to the right or left? Okay, I will just think about it. Okay, so the input, Okay, so let's think about this price level. Okay, so let's say this is the price one. Okay, if the producing some good, okay, becomes costly. Okay, for the same price, now I would like to produce more or less. I was producing this amount. Okay, Q1. Now the production becomes costly. Would you produce less or more? Less. Okay, or you would like to supply less of that. Okay, so this will be this shift. Okay, so basically the supply curve will shift. So let me use a different color here. So let me use blue. Okay, so the supply curve will shift to the, or let me, I will make it more clear. Okay, the supply curve will shift to the left. Okay, supply curve shift. Okay, so the production becomes more costly. Okay, then what will be the equilibrium in Turkey? Okay, so this will be the new equilibrium point. Okay, so let's say that this is 110, but the new equilibrium point in Greece is having a higher price. Okay, this is 150. So this, although our initial equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity the same in Greece and in Turkey, okay, after we have a shift in the supply curve, okay, so this is the equilibrium in Greece, and this is equilibrium in Turkey. Okay, we have a new equilibrium, and those new equilibriums are different in Turkey and in Greece. Okay, so why do we have different equilibriums after the supply curve shift? Okay, you don't need to think about the very difficult answer here. The answer is very simple. Why do we have different new equilibrium points here? Because intersection change. Okay, so the inputs is affecting the supply. Okay, but my point is, so why do we have different equilibrium for Turkey and different equilibrium for Greece? Because they have different no, different demand curve. Exactly. Okay, so of course, so everything, so the change in supply is affecting to the price, so it's affecting differently, but basically we observe different new equilibrium points because we have different demands in Turkey and Greece. Okay, so when you look at this graph, okay, so which country is affected more? Or I will answer that question. So let's forget about that question. Okay. So but let's think about this. Okay. Which country is facing a higher price right now? Greece. Okay. And even though it is facing a higher price, okay, the quantity demanded has decreased, less increase, right? Even though Greece is facing higher price, the quantity demanded is less increase compared to Turkey. Okay, and it's all because Greece has steeper demand. Okay, so having a steeper demand curve makes Greece less sensitive to the price change. Okay, okay. So that is basically this is the introduction part of the chapter. Okay. So what we will do in this chapter is, so this chapter will be shorter than the first one. Hopefully we will complete this chapter by the end of this week. Okay. So we will be basically looking for the sensitivity of demand and supply to the changes. Okay. And basically, so we are explaining those sensitivity to price. Okay, so we will be basically looking for the sensitivity of quantity demanded and supplied for changes in price and other factors. Okay. So any questions on this graph? Okay. So bu graf hakkında bir sorunuz var mı? Takip edebildiniz mi? Soru yok. Süper. Okay. So let's start with price elasticity of demand. Okay. So in fact, so what we mean by the sense elasticity, it will be the sensitivity, and so we will be looking for the how the price change affect the demand. Okay. So we will be basically using epsilon, okay, for the price elasticity, okay, and it will be a fraction, and the fraction will be basically the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. Okay, so what do we mean here? Okay, so if you just think about this is the price, so this is the demand curve, okay, and suppose that we are looking for this initial price, okay, P1 and Q1, okay, then we are saying that, okay, so what if the price of good has increased to P2, okay, now we will have any quantity, Okay, so the percentage, first of all, the change in the price is, so we denote it by delta P. Okay, the change in the price is P2 minus P1. Okay, so there is an increase in the price. Okay, and since we are looking for the percentage change, okay, so we will divide it by, sorry, so it is misleading. So delta P is the price, okay, then the percentage change in price, okay, will be delta P divided by the initial price, okay, and we do the same thing for the quantity. Delta Q will be Q2 minus Q1, and percentage change in quantity will be delta Q divided by initial quantity, okay. So if we would like to continue with this formulation, what we have here is delta Q over Q1, okay, divided by delta P over P1, okay. If I do the math here, it is delta Q over delta P, okay, times P1 over Q1, okay. In fact, so this change in quantity divided by change in price is the derivative of the demand function with respect to the price, okay, and we will multiply it with the ratio of the initial price to the initial quantity, okay. So this will basically be a number, okay, and so this will give the demand elasticity, okay. So let's remember the linear demand function, okay. So the linear demand function was Q is equal to A minus BP, okay. So we are given an initial price level, okay, P1 is the initial price level, and what will be the initial quantity level corresponding to that price level? What will be Q1 here? Q1 ne olur burada? Çok basit. Aynen. So I will just plug in the value of P1 here. It will be A minus B P1, okay? Whatever A, okay, for example, A is 10, B is 5, okay, and the initial price was 1, then I increase the price, so then I will calculate the Q1, okay? Then I can write this term, okay, so this term will be basically P1 over A minus B P1, okay, so that is the ratio of price and the quantity, okay. What about this term? Okay, what is the derivative of this demand function with respect to price? What is that? It is minus B. So dq over dp, okay, it will be minus B. Okay, so then the price elasticity, okay, for this linear demand function will be minus B times P1 A minus B P1. Okay, so this is actually elasticity at price P1. Okay, So let's go more deep on this demand function. Okay, so remember that, so we said that demand is always downward sloping. Okay, so which we know that law of demand. Okay, so as the price increases, the demand will decrease. Okay, so what does law of demand suggest us? So is b greater than 0 or it is less than 0? So which one is correct? Okay, so I think I misled you. So basically, let's think about again. Okay, as the price increases, okay, I want to see lower quantity, which means that, okay, so whatever the price increases, okay, so there should be some reduction on the right hand side, and that reduction will happen if this term, okay, so minus b is less than 0. Okay, but then it will give us b is greater than 0. Okay, so minus b is less than 0, but b should be greater than 0. Is that clear? Or in fact it can be. Burası açık mı arkadaşlar? Önemli olacak çünkü burası. Evet, sadece iki, no, okay. So let me repeat it again. Okay. So forget about the elasticity, forget about everything. Okay, so let's start from the demand function. Okay, so I'm giving you the demand function as a minus bp. Okay, so here a and b are constant. Okay, they can be any number. So the law of aggregate, law of demand tells us as price increases, quantity will decrease, right? Do we all remember that? Excellent. Okay. So then I am interested in what is the sign of B. Okay. Again, okay, so you can think about the sign of minus B or the sign of B. Okay, but I will be interested in the sign of B. Then what I need to do is basically, so as the price increases, okay, then right hand side of the equation, right hand side of equation should decrease. Okay, so this is the right hand side of the equation, right hand side of the equation. Okay, so I want it to decrease. And what do I mean here is basically, so a will be always constant. Okay, then I need, okay, so this term, okay, minus bp to decrease. Okay, since bp is increasing, okay, I can have that decrease if only minus b is less than or equal to 0. Okay, so which gives us b is greater or equal to 0. Clear? Açık oldu mu şimdi daha açık? Perfect. Then I turn back to this elasticity formula. Okay. So what we said that this first term, or let me write it again. So in the elasticity, okay, it is minus P times P over Q. Yes, we will have examples. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay. So once we reconsider this part, okay. So what do we have here is, so we have said that B is greater or equal to 0. Okay. Then this part is minus B is always less than or equal to 0. Okay. What about this fraction? Okay. Can this fraction be negative? It cannot be. Okay. So basically, so if it is negative, so either the quantity or the price should be negative. Okay, which does not make sense. Okay. So no, then this will be always greater or equal to 0. Okay. Then what does this tells us? The elasticity will be always less than or equal to 0. Okay. So this first term, okay, minus P is always less than or equal to 0. The second term, P over Q, is always greater or equal to 0. Then the multiplication of these two things, of the product of those two things, will be always less than or equal to 0. Okay. Which means that, so the elasticity will be 0, and so let me put it like this, between minus infinity. Okay. So I will go over this elasticity in different ranges. Okay. So if elasticity is 0, okay, then we say that demand is perfectly inelastic. Okay. So how can the elasticity be 0? Okay. So, or what does it mean? When price changes, quantity does not. Okay. And elasticity can be 0 if B is equal to what? If B is equal to 0, if B is equal to 0, quantity will be A. Okay, some number. Okay. And how does this demand curve look like? It is flat. Okay. Something like. Okay. And the second range that we are looking for the demand is basically, so when elasticity is less than 0 but greater than -1. And for this region, okay, we say that the elasticity is inelastic. Okay, what do we mean that? Okay, quantity demanded is affected, but it does not affected that much. Okay, so basically, so if you increase the price by 2 units, okay, so if you double the price, okay, for example, what do I mean here? If price is doubled, quantity demanded does not go beyond output. Okay, so there is an effect, but the effect is not as great as big as the change in the price. The effect is not as big as the change in price. Okay, so if it is just -1, so we call it is unitary elastic. Okay, so in that case, change in price, of course, the percentage change in price will be equal to the percentage change in quantity. This is what we observe. And if elasticity is less than -1, okay, then we call it is elastic. In this case, quantity demanded is affected more than the change in the price. Okay. If it is between, if it is equal to -infinity, then we said that it is perfectly elastic. Okay. So let's think about two demand curves. Okay, so one of them is flatter and the other one is steeper. So this is steeper one and this is flatter one. Okay, so which one is more elastic? Yes. Okay. So let me. So you all are correct. Okay. So let me repeat the question, or let me paraphrase the question. Okay. So I'm asking you that. So which one is affected more with the price change? Okay. So what we know is we know the change will affect the quantity demanded. Okay. So it will decrease. But which one decrease more? Okay. That's the question. So if you cannot see it from the graph, okay, so we can just look at the values here. Okay, let's say that this is the price one, okay, and for price one, so we have the same quantity demanded for both demand curves, okay. Then let's say that the price increases to P2. So we have this Q2, let's say F for flat, and this is Q2S for the steeper one. Okay, as you can see that here, Q2S is greater than Q2F. Okay, But what we are interested in is the change in the quantity demanded. Okay, Q2S minus Q1, Q2F minus Q1. So which one is greater? The second one. Okay, or I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. It will be the, okay, mathematically. Okay, so just the values. Okay, so this will be great. Okay, how do I see that? Okay, so let's say this is 10, this is 8, and this is 4. So this will be minus 2, this will be minus 6. Okay, so minus 2 is greater than minus 6, but here I am considering in terms of absolute value. Okay, for the absolute value Q1, so which is the change in the quantity demanded. Okay, of course the second one will be greater. Okay, so which means that quantity demanded decreases more under flatter demand curve. Okay, any question? So which means that flatter is more elastic. It's affected more. Okay, sorunuz var mı? Sorunuz yok. So I will finish today's class. Okay, so with one more thing. Okay, so here we compare two different demand curves. Okay, but in fact you can see that from the formulation. Okay, we can have different elasticity on the same demand curve. Perfect elastic can happen. Okay, for example, you can just think that so let's that be a question for your homework. Okay, is perfect elastic possible? Okay, I want you to hear your answers for that. Okay, but it can be possible. Okay, that's my short answer. Okay, so I will add that part for the homework. Okay, so it's perfectly elastic. Can demand be perfectly elastic? Okay, so which means that so whenever we change the price from some level to another one, then the demand will change a lot. Okay, let's think about it as a home. Okay, but mathematically, so I will show you that. Okay, so it is still possible here. Okay, so in this graph. Okay, so you will see it just in a few minutes, in a few seconds. Okay, so let's think about a demand curve here. Okay, so let's remember the elasticity. Okay, it is minus b times p over q. Okay, and so when we have perfectly elastic demand, when it is equal to minus infinity. Okay, so this is price and this is quantity. Okay, so let's think about this point and this point. Okay, so minus v will be related with the slope of this curve. Okay, in fact, so it will be 1 over the slope. Okay, so here it will be some, so b will be some positive number here. Okay, so what is the elasticity? Okay, so let's say that this point is 0.1. Okay, x1, and that is x2. Okay, what is elasticity at x1? It is minus b times, okay, whatever the price level, okay, let's say p1, okay, divided by what's the quantity level? It is 0, and which will be, so no matter what b here is, p1 here is, the answer will be minus infinity. Okay, so basically, so you are dividing some negative number, okay, with 0, okay, and you will get minus infinity. Okay, so the elasticity at this point is perfectly elastic. Okay, what about this point? What is elasticity for x2? Okay, it is minus p times, what is p there? What is p1? It is 0 divided by some quantity, right? Okay, and quantity is positive, it's non-zero. What will be? It is 0. Okay, so this point is perfectly inelastic. Okay, and any point here, okay, for let's say that this is x3 and this is x4. Okay, for any of those points, okay, so let's say this is q3 and this is p3 and this is p4 and this is q4. Okay, so the elasticity at point x3 is minus b times p3 over q3, and elasticity at point x4 is minus b times p4 over q4. Okay, so if I go in this direction, okay, minus b stays the same, okay, for any point on the demand curve. Okay, but as I go in this direction, okay, price, what happens to price? Price decreases and quantity increases. Okay, so which means that p over q decrease. Okay, so which means that as I go in this direction, the elasticity is it decreasing or increasing? elasticity is increasing. Okay, so remember that. So although this term is decreasing, I am multiplying it with a negative constant. Okay, so which means that so I'm becoming closer to zero. Okay, so in this direction, okay, demand becomes more inelastic. And on the opposite direction, in this direction, demand becomes more elastic. Okay, so let me draw it clearly and I will stop at that point. So if this is the demand curve, okay, so I will always have a point, okay, so where demand elasticity is -1. At this point, the demand elasticity is minus infinity. At this point, the demand elasticity is 0, and this portion of the demand is inelastic part, and this portion is elastic part. Okay. Do you have another question? No question? Perfect. Okay. So let me stop here. Okay, so I will upload the lecture notes, okay, for chapter 2, okay, today to MySu. You will get email notification for that, okay, and you will find your lecture notes. As usual, I will upload the recorded class to YouTube, and I will also upload the recorded class to Google Drive. Okay, so please let me know if you have any problem with watching the lectures. Tomorrow, I will have office hour as mentioned on the syllabus. Okay, and on Wednesday, okay, in the first part of the lecture, okay, your TA will solve some questions. Okay, I will give them some questions and they will solve it. It will be recorded. Then I will start the class at 3:30 p.m. Okay, and I will do the rest of the class. And on Friday, on the recitation time, at recitation time, I will have the class. Okay? Anlaşılmayan bir şey var mı burada? Anlaşılmayan bir şey yok. So I will be here. I will have Zoom meeting so tomorrow for the office hour. Okay. Otherwise, so I will see you on Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. But as I mentioned, on Wednesday, starting from 1:40, your TA will solve some questions. Okay, it will be the recitation part. Okay. So thanks a lot. Okay. So I will stop recording, and so this is the end of the class. Okay.